Right now, without moving from where you're sitting, try to tickle yourself. Run your fingers along your own ribs, or drag a fingertip across the sole of your own foot. Nothing happens. No shiver, no giggle, no flinch. Now imagine someone else doing the exact same motion in the exact same spot with the exact same pressure. You'd probably be squirming before they even finished. Same touch, same nerves, same skin. So why does one version do nothing and the other one wrecks you? The obvious guess is that tickling is about surprise. You know your own movements are coming, so there's no shock value left. But that explanation falls apart almost immediately. You can rig up a way to touch yourself unpredictably, delay it, randomize it, hide your own hand behind a screen so you can't see it coming, and it still barely tickles. Something deeper than surprise is going on. Your brain isn't failing to notice your own touch. It's actively canceling it out before it ever has the chance to register as ticklish. To understand why, you have to look at how your brain handles every single movement you make thousands of times a day without you ever thinking about it. Every time you lift your arm, reach for a cup, or scratch your own nose, your brain doesn't just send the command and wait to see what happens. It runs a prediction first. Neuroscientists call this an efference copy, a kind of internal preview your brain generates the instant before you move, forecasting exactly what sensation that movement is about to produce. Think of it like a security guard who already has tomorrow's delivery schedule memorized. When the truck shows up exactly on time with exactly the right boxes, the guard barely glances up. Nothing to flag. But if a truck rolls in at 3 a.m., unannounced, carrying something nobody ordered, that same guard is instantly alert. Your brain runs this exact kind of check on physical sensation. When a touch matches the prediction perfectly, timing, location, pressure, all of it, your brain quietly files it as old news. When a touch shows up that your internal forecast didn't predict, your brain treats it as new information worth paying attention to. Self-touch always matches the forecast. You are both the sender of the command and the receiver of the sensation, so your brain has privileged access to exactly what's coming, down to the millisecond. Someone else's touch carries no such advance warning. Your brain has no forecast to compare it against, so it can't cancel anything out. The sensation arrives raw and unpredicted, and that unpredictability is a huge part of what makes tickling feel the way it does. Neuroscientist Sarah Jane Blakemore, working alongside Daniel Walpert and Chris Frith at University College London, tested this directly with a strange little machine. They built a robotic arm that could stroke a person's palm with a foam-covered paddle, and they let the person control that same paddle themselves using a joystick in their other hand. When the movement was instant, their own hand controlling the paddle in real time, it barely tickled at all, just like touching themselves directly. But when the researchers introduced a small delay, a fraction of a second between the joystick movement and the paddle stroke, people rated the sensation as noticeably more ticklish. The longer the delay grew, the more ticklish it felt, right up until it started to feel just as ticklish as being touched by someone else entirely. That tiny delay was the whole trick. It broke the perfect match between prediction and sensation. Your brain expects the touch here, now this pressure, and if it arrives even slightly off from that forecast, the cancellation system fails to kick in, and the raw sensation gets through. Here's a question worth sitting with. If this cancellation system exists to filter out predictable sensations, what would happen if it stopped working properly? That's exactly what researchers found when they looked at people experiencing certain symptoms of schizophrenia, specifically patients who report a reduced sense of control over their own actions. Some of these individuals report being able to tickle themselves, something the vast majority of people simply cannot do. Their internal forecasting system, the one quietly predicting the consequences of their own movements, appears to be misfiring. Without an accurate prediction to cancel the sensation against, self-touch starts registering the same way an external touch would, unfamiliar and unfiltered. This connects to a much broader idea in how the brain understands the difference between self and world. Some researchers studying schizophrenia have proposed that certain symptoms, like the sense that your own thoughts are being inserted by someone else, or that your own actions are being controlled externally, might trace back to this same prediction system malfunctioning on a larger scale. If your brain can't reliably tag your own actions as your own, the ordinary boundary between what you did and what happened to you starts to blur. The inability to tickle yourself, something almost everyone takes for granted, turns out to be a small, testable window into a much larger question about how the brain builds a stable sense of self at all. This tells you something important about what tickling actually is at its core. It was never really about the touch itself. It's about the gap between what your brain expects and what actually happens. Close that gap completely, and there's nothing left to react to. Widen it even slightly, and the nervous system treats the sensation as new, unpredictable, and worth flagging. Picture a friend clapping their hands directly in front of your face. If you know exactly when it's coming, you barely blink. But if someone claps unexpectedly behind your head, you jump immediately, even though the sound itself is identical. Tickling works on that same principle, just applied to touch instead of sound. Prediction diffuses reaction. Uncertainty amplifies it. There's a reason this system exists at all, and it isn't random. Your nervous system is constantly being bombarded with sensory information. The feeling of clothing against skin, the pressure of your own feet on the ground, the brush of your own hair against your neck. If your brain treated every one of these self-generated sensations as urgent and worth analyzing, you'd be overwhelmed within minutes. The efference copy system is a filter, quietly sorting the world into two categories: things I caused, which are safe to ignore, and things I didn't cause, which might need my attention. This is why an unexpected touch from someone else, even a gentle one, gets flagged as potentially significant. Evolutionarily, an unpredicted touch on your skin could mean an insect, a person sneaking up on you, or some kind of unknown contact worth investigating immediately. Your nervous system treats that ambiguity as a mild alarm. Laughter and squirming might even be a kind of built-in response for exactly this situation, a mix of heightened alertness and social signaling that says, I noticed that and I don't fully know what it was. So why does tickling feel specifically like tickling, and not just alertness or mild anxiety? Researchers studying the phenomenon point to the particular body regions involved: the ribs, the neck, the underarms, the soles of the feet. These are largely areas that are difficult to see and defend on your own body, spots where an unexpected touch would be hardest for you to intercept if it were actually a threat. Some researchers have proposed that the ticklish response evolved partly as a reflexive defense mechanism, a way of protecting vulnerable areas by making them hypersensitive to unpredicted contact, triggering an automatic flinch or withdrawal. Compare that to a spot like your forearm or the back of your hand, places you can see easily and react to quickly if something unwanted touches them. Those areas tend to be far less ticklish if they're ticklish at all. The map of where tickling hits hardest lines up surprisingly well with a map of where your body is most exposed and least able to defend itself, which is a strange thing to notice about a sensation most people only ever. There's also a social layer to all of this that's easy to overlook. Tickling between two people, especially between a parent and a child, tends to build trust and connection specifically because it walks the line between mild alarm and safety. The child's nervous system registers something unpredicted happening to a vulnerable area of their body, but the surrounding context, a trusted adult, playful tone, familiar setting, tells the brain that this particular unpredictability is safe. That combination, mild alertness paired with certainty of safety, is part of what produces the specific kind of laughter tickling produces, different from laughing at a joke or a funny video. This is also why tickling stops being fun almost instantly once someone doesn't want it anymore. The moment the social safety signal disappears, the same physical sensation shifts from playful to genuinely distressing, because the brain is no longer pairing the unpredicted touch with a feeling of safety. The touch hasn't changed. The context around it has, and that context is doing almost all of the emotional work. It's worth noticing how much of your daily life actually runs on this same invisible machinery, not just tickling. Every time you touch your own face while thinking about something else entirely, your brain is running that same predictive check in the background, comparing expected sensation against actual sensation, canceling out the match without ever bothering to alert your conscious mind. You only ever notice the system on the rare occasions it fails: a delayed video call where your own voice echoes back a half-second late and suddenly sounds unbearably strange, or a mirror that's been flipped in a way that makes your own reflected movements feel subtly wrong. Tickling is really just the most ticklish, most literal example of a prediction system that's running constantly, silently underneath almost everything you do with your own body. So the next time you try to tickle yourself and nothing happens, you're not missing out on some sensation other people get to feel more intensely. You're watching an extremely fast, mostly invisible prediction system do exactly what it's built to do, comparing what your brain expected against what your body actually felt, and quietly filing the perfect match under nothing to see here. It's the same system responsible for you not flinching every time your own hand brushes your leg, or your tongue touches the inside of your cheek. Most of the time, that system is so good at its job you never even notice it's running. You can't tickle yourself not because your nerves are somehow different, but because your brain already knows exactly what your hand is about to do before it does it. And in a strange way, that constant silent forecasting is one of the most impressive things your brain does all day, precisely because you never notice it happening at all.